Hello there, folks, and welcome to the history of Underdenim on the World Wide Web. Before we start, let me tell you about the timeline. Use your computer-controlled device to move the rivet. By doing so, you'll be able to travel through time and space. Magical stuff, if you ask me. However, I want to talk to you about a substance many of us find vital to our comfort and well-being. For a long time, it was hidden in a dark, inaccessible place, but recently it came to light again. It's called Underdenim. Our story begins in the 1800s, where the discovery of gold by early prospectors flourished into a mining boom. Although most of the gold lined the pockets of greedy mining bosses, jobs were scarce and brave men queued up to do this hard, perilous work. Leaving the light and fresh air behind them, they plunged into a subterranean world full of danger. Accidents were frequent, especially if the fuse wasn't long enough.
Obviously, the mines were dark and dirty, but they were also extremely humid, hot, damp, sweaty. And this was bad news in the underwear department. Guys in those days wore long johns, totally ill-adapted to the environment. Pretty damn sticky, know what I mean? So one of them, no one really knows who, sketched an alternative. It would be a soft, short version of the denim they already wore on the outside. They raised funds through the miners' union and put this so-called underdenim into production on a small scale.
But the miners failed to patent their invention, and soon underdenim was being made by many rival manufacturers. Each of them claimed to produce the softest, stretchiest cotton. Bales of underdenim left their factories every day to supply dry goods stores all over the Old West. Underdenim was worn not only by miners, but by every man who did a tough, demanding job. The material earned its spurs with cowboys who praised its durability. When you've got a raging bull between your legs, you want a fabric that goes the distance. Yes, it was a mighty fine life in the big country, driving herds of Mustangs, riding the plains, eating beans. But every dream comes to an end, and in the last days of the Wild West, there was a cloud on the horizon. The cloud of war. When French and Italian troops discovered these fine underpants, they sent examples home to their sweethearts. Underdenim went into production in Europe, and finely tailored interpretations came back to New York as high-end fashion garments. After World War II, daredevils hungry for speed turned from fighter squadrons to motorcycle gangs. And when it came to underwear, Underdenim was leader of the pack.
People painted us as outlaws, but there was more to us than tattoos and tequila. Sure, we got into trouble and all, the way a young man will, but what it was really all about was liberty. Liberty and brotherhood, and life on the open road. For sure, we all wore underdenim. We associated it with cowboys, you know? That's how we thought of ourselves. Cowpokes on motorcycles.
The 50s were a turning point for underdenim. Once a cult product, now it became mainstream fashion, driven by the beat of rock and roll. From the intimate garment of rebels, it grew into America's best-loved underwear, as wholesome as milkshakes and mom's apple pie. Production increased by 200% between 1957 and 67. This was the golden age of underdenim. Even the flower children, the hippies, the peace and love generation, even they wore underdenim. After all, they'd grown up with it. They could hardly imagine wearing anything else. Until one day they could. In fact, they decided they didn't want to wear anything at all.
We didn't start out as extreme, you dig? We just had these new ideas. Long hair, free love, no rules. It wasn't always easy. I mean, we had itchy beards. Our girls didn't shave their armpits. It was pretty far out. Soon we decided clothes were a bourgeois conspiracy, forced on us by the man.
Underdenim, the underwear of a hard-working generation, suddenly became a target. A radical group, the Love Movement, decided to make an example of the legendary undergarment.
We buried it, man. Buried it for good. Every piece of underdenim we could find. We buried it in the desert. We even wrote a poem about it.
Other hippie groups joined the protest. Deeply unfashionable, Underdenim went out of production. The last few pieces were buried or burned by the Love Movement. Within the space of a decade, it was as if Underdenim had been erased from the blackboard of history. But that was not the end of the line for Underdenim. A new era began in the strangest of circumstances when a paleontologist was digging for dinosaur fossils in West Colorado. His name was Turner, Harry T. Rex Turner, and instead of digging up dinosaur bones, he found a package of underdenim buried by the Love Movement. Let's meet the sponsor of the exhibition, retailer and billionaire Warren Alberstein.
There are some folks that say I knew the underdenim was out there, which is why I funded old Rex's excavation. I ain't telling whether that's true or not. All I know is that when he found that packet of underdenim, we struck pure gold. The rediscovery, the renaissance, if you will, of underdenim is one of the key fashion moments of the 21st century. It brought the iconic fabric of a previous generation before the eyes of a people who were bored with the new. For them, new is fake. Nostalgia, it equals authenticity. And underdenim is as nostalgic as you can get.
Underdenim might have remained an obscure footnote were it not for Diesel. The company rose to the challenge of recreating this unique material. Today, for the first time in many years, underdenim is back on the market. Diesel's denim scientists have reproduced the original formula, so it's just as reliable and comfortable as it ever was. When you choose underdenim today, you are making a statement. You are proclaiming your solidarity with all the brave men who wore it before you. Young fellas, wear your underdenim with pride. So when you strip off your jeans, you're still in denim.